Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Sacramento Regional County Sanitation District meeting. This meeting is called to order, and I'm going to ask our clerk if you would please call the roll and establish a quorum.
Good morning. Member Bruins?
Present.
Carr?
Here.
Harris?
Here.
Howell? Hume?
Here.
Kennedy?
Here.
Lee? McGarvey? Natoli?
Here.
Orozco? Peters?
Here.
Cerna?
Here.
Villegas?
Here.
Warren? And Frost. And you have a quorum.
Thank you. And at this time, I'm going to invite everyone who's in the building to rise, and everyone who may be distanced to rise and join us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all.
There's a lot of echo in that one.
That was beautiful.
Would you like me to read the statement?
I'll go ahead and read the public comment. In compliance with the directives of the county, state, and Centers of Disease Control and Prevention, CDC, this meeting is live streamed and closed captioned and closed to the public attendance. Meeting procedures are subject to change pursuant to guidelines related to social distancing and minimizing person-to-person contact. You may sign up to make a public comment during a live meeting. Registration opens when the agenda is posted 72 hours prior to the meeting date. Dial 916-875-2500 to provide contact information. On the day of the meeting, callers will be contacted by phone and transferred to the meeting to make a public comment on specific agenda item or off-agenda items. Callers may sign up until public comments are closed for a specific item, respectively. If you wish to make a written comment, send an email to comment to boardclerk@saccounty.net. Make a comment online, go to http://board.bospublicmeetings.saccounty.net. Mail a comment to 700 H Street, Suite 2450, Sacramento, California 95614. Written comments are distributed to members and filed in the record and will not be read aloud. At this time, I'm going to ask our clerk if you would please read the video statement and proceed to the next item.
This meeting of the Sacramento Regional County Sanitation and Sacramento Area Sewer District is being recorded and will be broadcast on Sunday, July 26 at 6 p.m. on Metro Cable 14, the local government affairs channel, on the Comcast Consolidated Communications and AT&T Uverse cable systems. The meeting is closed captioned for our hearing impaired viewers. In accordance with Government Code 54952.3, compensation for a meeting of these legislative bodies is required to be verbally disclosed. The amount of $100 will be paid for each member participating today as a member of the Sacramento Regional County Sanitation District, and the amount of $100 will be paid for each board member participating today as a member of the Sacramento Area Sewer District. Compensation for Sacramento County Supervisors and City of Sacramento Council members is paid to the county and city respectively to partially offset the costs of those governments. Compensation for other board members is delivered to the individuals.
And we do have a closed session item that we will push to the end of the meeting, and I just wanted to remind all the callers on the phone, when we get to the closed session item, we will leave this phone call and enter into another phone call, but we'll talk about that later. And then moving forward to section 1 of our timed matters for the Sacramento Regional County Sanitation District, if the clerk would read the next item, please.
District consent matters, acting as your Sacramento Regional County Sanitation District, items 1 through 7.
Madam Chair, Jeff Harris here. I have a question on item number 1 on consent.
Okay, thank you. We'll just pull item 1 then? And do we have any other board members who have items to pull?
I'm Board Member Bob McGarvey. I can't bring it up on the screen, so I'm talking on the phone.
Okay. Did you say you had a question about a specific item, Bob?
No, I'm just letting you know that I've been here just trying to reach the meeting, and I just had to use the phone because that's all I can get right now.
Great,
I don't
thanks.
have the link to the Zoom.
Thanks for letting us know. We were figuring you would be downtown here with us because you normally are, but we're happy that you've joined us. Thank you. And so are there any other members who have questions regarding any consent items or comments? And so do we have a motion for the remainder of the consent items?
So moved.
Moved by Director Harris.
Second, Hume.
Moved by Director Harris, second by Director Hume. Please call a roll call vote.
Member Bruins?
Aye.
Carr?
Aye.
Harris?
Aye.
Howell? Hume?
Aye.
Kennedy?
Aye.
Lee?
Aye.
McGarvey?
Aye.
Natoli?
Aye.
Orozco?
Aye.
Peters?
Aye.
Cerna?
Aye.
Villegas?
Aye.
Warren? And Frost?
Aye.
The motion passes by unanimous vote.
Thank you. And so Director Harris, you had some questions or comments on item 1.
Yeah, and this is directed to either Prabhakar or Ruben, but it's about the increase in change order allowance. So I believe it was just a couple of months ago, I think April, that we went up 2%, and now this will bring it to 8%. My question is, were the plans not complete? Are there unforeseen conditions that come up? There are quite a substantial number of change orders associated with this project. I fully comprehend it's a very difficult and complex project, but I'd also like to know how the 8% compares to the other large projects in Echo Water.
I'll take the first. I'll try to answer the question. Probably, I'm going to ask Vic to come in and answer the second part, which how we're comparing. Because if you see quarterly, you will get a report from Vic in terms of the change order percentages. My recollection is that this is a little bit higher than the rest of the projects. So to answer your first question, I'm going to try to limit my comments because there's a claim against us in the court, and so there's only limited things that I can say here. We've had, this project had, the first year when we started, we had a lot of rain, and there were claims related to that. That was, part of it. There's also certain things, as you could well imagine, as a project of this complexity, especially in the midst of an existing treatment process, with the best of our ability, they can have some conflicts with the utilities and things, missed things. So that there's a number of things that there was part of it. But a large percentage of it is for claims that we have not been able to resolve. So of the amounts that that we have provided, almost $15-16 million are in advance for the claims that were made against the district. So there's a process of settling these claims, meaning that we could not agree on the amounts that they claimed, and so there's a third-party process that is undergoing. So when the process concludes, and if we are to if we don't have to pay as much as we advanced the money, we will be receiving the money back from the contractor. But if we were to be needing to pay that amount, or if more, then we would be paying the rest of it. So that's if you look at the numbers, a lion's share of that number has gone towards advance, meaning that we haven't really committed to resolving. I mean, we haven't had a final numbers yet. So that's kind of high level, but I want to have Vic come in and kind of give you a quick highlights of what kinds of change orders that are coming in at the BNR. He's going to come to the podium in a moment.
Thank you, Prabhakar.
Hi, this is Vic Chiotani. I'm the program manager for the Echo Water project. So the question was in comparison to the other projects. The BNR project right now is about 2.6% change orders, which is relatively low. Most of the infrastructure is already in, so we really don't see much more change from any kind of design or unforeseen type change orders. So in comparison to the other projects, it's actually in fairly on the lower range of change order percentage for actual changes like I described.
Also, Vic, you might want to explain what some of the changes that are part of the BNR that we have seen, kind of high level, what kind of changes?
Yeah, they're real typical for a project kind of this size, somewhat of complexity, but we've had some changes. Typically, where we see is in reinforcing steel details, conduit installation in concrete slabs. Some spec type items, coordination with equipment and our control systems. Those are pretty typical types of change orders that we see in all the projects. And, we've experienced, like I said, about 2.6% changes, which really is actually a pretty decent number in terms of our program for those types of change orders. So the reason the numbers get so high is just the sheer size of BNR. And with 8 tanks, if we make one change in one basin, you multiply that by 8. So we just get this multiplication escalation for the actual dollar amounts.
What is a normal change order percentage, or is the average?
We're probably on the program somewhere around 3 or a little over 3%. And so that, again, I think it's pretty low, and in my experience, you can typically see more in the 4 to 6% range of change orders. And again, depending on the type of project. So if you get into rehab type projects, your change orders tend to be higher. A lot more unknown type of things are found when you go into existing facilities.
Such a massive project. Yeah. Thank you, Vic.
One more thing that I wanted to add is, if you remember that the Echo Water project has been kind of pieced into almost 20 different projects. With the exception of the BNR, the project in question now, and the filtration, the rest of the projects, I think 16, 17 of them are done, or close to they're done. Or if they have either been completed or we have not had only 2 projects that we've had claims. The rest of them we were able to resolve and pending claims. So we worked well with the contractors. These are very different contractors that did these projects, not a single contractor that did the other 15 of them. So we were able to resolve these things, but there obviously we're unable to resolve in this instance. So hence we have a third-party resolution process that's currently happening.
Thank you, Prabhakar, for the explanation. I mean, clearly, Echo Water has been managed very well across the board, and most of the projects, as you've indicated, have gone very smoothly overall. This one is kind of a standout, and I'm wondering, do you foresee coming back to the board for any more change order allowance?
Not on this one, because Vic is here. He's going to chime in. So the way we see, so a part of the change order, which there's the startup of the first 3 basins. We're going to start in September. That is agreed to by the contractor as part of our most recent change orders that we have executed. So that allows us to process wastewater. And this project is slated to be complete by October of next year. So with the way that we're foreseeing, for this project, it should be pretty much the end of it. Obviously, there's claims that, end up the court, the third-party resolution, either through mediation or the courts, that will happen outside of the normal process. But to come back to the board for additional monies, I could see, at least at this point, this is it.
Okay.
And Vic
Well,
is
thank you
nodding
for
in
your.
agreement.
Thank you, Director Harris. Does anyone have a motion then for item 1?
I'll go ahead and move it.
Second.
Second.
I heard several seconds, but Kennedy seemed the loudest, although it might have been Natoli first. Let's go with Kennedy because he's loud. And roll call vote, please.
Member Bruins,
Aye.
Carr,
Aye.
Harris,
Aye.
Howell, Hume,
Aye.
Kennedy,
Aye.
Lee,
Aye.
McGarvey,
Aye.
Natoli,
Aye.
Orozco,
Aye.
Peters,
Aye.
Cerna,
Aye.
Villegas,
Aye.
Warren, and Frost.
Aye.
Unanimous vote with those members present.
Thank you, Alma. Next item is public comment for those items not on the agenda.
The clerk did not receive any comments, off-agenda comments from the public.
And we do not have anyone raising their hand in the county building here, and so we'll move on to our next item, which is the Sacramento Regional County Sanitation District Separate Matters.
Item number 9, savings achieved on issuance of Sacramento Regional County Sanitation District Revenue Bond Series 2020A and Federally Taxable Revenue Bond Series 2020B, which included the refunding of 2000C bonds, termination of the 2000C swap, and refunding of the 2011A bonds.
And our presenter is Mr. Joe Mastretti, our Chief Financial Officer.
Good morning, Chair, board members. This morning I want to give you an update on the outcome of our 2020 bond transaction that priced on June 17th and closed on July 14th. As you recall, when we went for the approval of this transaction back in May, we set targets for the refunding of the 2011A bonds at a 10% savings level. And for the 2000C bonds, we were just hoping not to incur a loss on this transaction. So we were shooting for a neutral net present value savings. As it turns out, we were able to achieve our targets and then some. On the 2011A bonds, we managed to get about 11.1% savings, or actually 11.8%, excuse me, on the 2011A bonds, which were issued on a taxable basis because we could not refund those on a tax-exempt basis because we're ahead of the call date by a little over a year. But even on a taxable basis, we were able to achieve that high savings target. On the 2000C bonds, which also included the termination of the related swap, we were able to generate $2.3 million worth of net present value savings and end up with a fixed rate debt for that new bonds at 0.77%, which is very good. Also, during this transaction, we received an upgrade from Moody's to the highest AA level, which is very good in this particular environment. They're handing out a lot of downgrades and not very many upgrades, as you might expect. So we were very fortunate to get an upgrade, and it helped a lot on this transaction. This was basically the first of our three major restructuring transactions that we have planned over the next couple of years, and it was very successful. So we're looking forward to doing the second transaction, which we may move up a little bit because the markets are still very very attractive. The 2007B bonds, also a variable rate debt that needs to be replaced before the end of the LIBOR transition in 2021. So that's my update for that. I'd be happy to answer any questions or any comments.
Thank you for your diligence in watching things and making sure you're doing everything you can to protect us and save us money. Are there any board members who have any questions for Joe? Hearing none, do we have a motion? Or do we need a motion, or is this just an information only?
I believe it is a receive and file item.
Okay.
Information only.
Okay, this is informational only. Thank you very much, Joe. Next item, please.
Item number 10, acting as your Sacramento Regional County Sanitation District Separate Matters Echo Water Project Quarterly Report for April 1, 2020 through June 30, 2020.
Good morning, Vic.
Good morning, back again. I'm Vic Chiotani. I'm the program manager for the Echo Water Project, and I want to go through a few highlights from the quarterly report. Let's get this going. All right, I'll just go have an overview of the schedule and progress and expand a little bit more on some of the dates that Prabhakar was talking about for BNR. Go over some of our financial information, and then we'll talk about some of the latest updates to some of the projects. This is a summary of the program schedule. The green bars are our planning and design phase, and the blue and purple bars are construction and commissioning. So you can see we've completed many, many projects, and we currently only have 4 projects under construction. The channel air blower project is slated to be completed by the end of July. That'll put another one by us. And then we're still working on the flow equalization project. This project started very early. Contractor had some problems with one of their subs. The last remaining piece of work to be done is to automate the washdown monitors in those basins. The basins are functioning, we can use them, but we just don't have the automated system. So control panels are being fabricated and tested. We have some on site, and so they'll be planning on installing and testing those. We expect that project to be done somewhere by the end of September. That leaves the 2 remaining projects, the BNR project and the tertiary treatment facility project. The tertiary treatment facility project is on schedule to be completed within its contract time, so that's good. That contractor is going very well. And the BNR project, though, is somewhat of a delay. So just if you look at the schedule, the bar chart, you can see the end of the BNR project shows out to somewhere about November of 2021. Our compliance date for the BNR, the ammonia removal portion, is May 2021. But the November date is when all of the contract work is to be completed. What we expect to have is that by May of 2021, our compliance date, we'll have enough facilities on process operational to treat the whatever wastewater is coming through the plant. So the current flows, we will have enough processes online, treating, and essentially we should be meeting our permit at that time. This is a histogram of our program cash flow. The dark colored bars are actual expenditures. The light colored bars are some projected expenditures. Excuse me. So you can see in this next coming year a fairly high rate of expenditures, and this is the tertiary treatment facility project. So they are on schedule. They're pouring a lot of concrete and making really good progress. Benefited from a fairly dry winter to make additional progress on this project. So it's going very well. This graphic just shows a comparison of our actual expenditures versus projected expenditures. So you can see we're tracking very well and should be able to make our milestones that we've shown in the previous schedule. This is just kind of a summary of the program budget. Our program budget remains at $1.735 billion. I'm very confident that we should finish all of our projects within that budget. So we're currently at 72% of the program budget spent. The construction costs, which are a bulk of the program cost, we're at 74% expenditures. So just a few general updates. We've expended over 3.6 million labor hours, and we've experienced only 18 lost time injuries. We talked about the biological nutrient removal project. The contractor is pushing very hard to get us to start what we call the biological seeding process by September 1st. So that process will take about 1 to 2 months to develop the biology, at which point we can start diverting some of the wastewater flows into that process for treatment. So we expect before the end of this year to have the first 3 basins online on process, and then somewhere in spring of next year, we'll bring another 3 basins online. With those 6 basins in operation, we can treat the current full plant flows. Tertiary treatment facility project, they are busy pouring concrete. They've poured about 66% of the concrete on their project. They have electrical buildings fully up with roofs. Some of the electrical switchgear equipment has been installed, and they continue to make very good progress. Talked a little bit about the flow equalization panels. Again, we have control panels for 2 of the basins on site. The contractor is planning to get those installed, and we are doing factory testing on several panels from the other basins. And the nitrifying side stream treatment was final acceptance approved back in May of 2020. And we just had the return activated sludge pumping project final acceptance approved at this board meeting. So run through some of the photos of the construction going on at the site. This is a recent aerial of the full site. And this is a photo of the BNR basins, and you can see the 3 basins up on the left. They're full of water, and that white area is the aeration system that's being tested out. This is a picture of the Area Control Center building that's on the lower left, and the blower building that's just on the right. You can see the large piping coming from that blower building feeding out to the basins, and one of the basins that's being aerated. The photo on the right shows the first 3 basins, or actually one full basin, where they're doing some of the initial testing on the aeration systems. So we actually have someone going in when the water's at about 2 feet, just above the diffusers, and he's checking for leaks. Pretty apparent, because you'll get these very big boils instead of this fine bubble type pattern. Just a photo of a north-south gallery and some of the piping in it. This is a picture of the PEPS motors up on top. Some of the guys working on some of the instrumentation and piping. This is the tertiary treatment facilities project site. In the bottom part of the picture are the disinfection contact basins. You can see there are will be 4 of those basins, and just above that are the filtration. And then just to the right, the structure there is the going to be the pumping station. This is a close-up of the contact basin and the work going on. They're moving very well. They've got the deck poured on one of the basins there. This is a photo of the granular meter filters, and you can see all the different filter bays going in. There's 20 of the filter bays on this project. This is switchgear installed in one of the electrical buildings. This is the area control center. They're putting up the roof on that structure. This will house all the control equipment for our operators. This is a site of the channel aeration air blower project. The remaining piece of work is demolition of the existing aeration blowers and their pads. You can see the picture on the left is one of the existing blowers being hauled off this, loaded onto a flatbed, and then they're actually chipping those concrete pads off so it's flat with the ground. So some of the upcoming activities for this summer, We want to complete a demo for the channel air blower project. I mentioned that should be done by the end of July. We're working on the control panels for the flow equalization project. TTF, continued concrete placement. They're working very well through the summer. And then the BNR project, and I talked a lot about that, trying to get that project, enough facilities completed to start seeding this September. So that's only in about a little over 30 days that they've got still quite a bit of work to do, but it looks promising that they'll make that date. And with that, I'll take any questions.
Supervisor Natoli, anything?
No, just kudos certainly to Vic and all the folks, certainly on sanitation district side, but also certainly all the contractors. Tremendous amount of coordination. It's kind of hard to fathom that we've come so far. We get these progress reports on a regular basis, but then to see the amount of concrete, the amount of equipment, and to hear there's 3.5 million personnel hours have been put in thus far on this project. It's just it's an amazing feat, and I certainly offer compliments. I know we get a chance to recognize Vic here in a moment, but I think again, certainly your leadership, Vic, and your whole team of folks, Walker, and from the time we started planning this to this very moment, it's been an amazing undertaking. And you think about more than $1 billion has been expended thus far, and before we're done, we'll be approaching $1.75 billion on a massive project, but it'll serve this community for generations to come. So it's just again a real testament to, I think, the engineering expertise, but also the coordination and the fact that people are with their hands and equipment are building this, and again, it'll be functional, all the aspects of it, hopefully before the fall of next year or so. Again, I just want to extend my compliments certainly to you, Vic, but Bacher and the whole team that worked on this from beginning to what's contemplated to be the end in not too distant future.
That's good. Thank you.
Any other directors have questions or comments on the phone?
Just
Yes.
this is Bob McGarvey.
And who was the other person?
Yes, this is Bob McGarvey.
Jeannie. Okay, Bob first, and then we'll follow with Jeannie.
Right. I just want to congratulate them also on the work they're doing with that tour we had, and then seeing what progress has been made. It's really great.
Yes.
Thank you.
It was pretty impressive to be out there in the middle of all that. Did you have any comments, Jeannie Bruins?
Yeah, just real briefly. I couldn't say any more than the direction it's taken, but those of us who've been on this board from the very beginning of this through today, it's amazing to see. It was amazing to contemplate it, but amazing to see how it's progressed, and to be where we are today is just incredible. And Vic, can't thank you enough for your leadership and for all of those who have been involved in this. It's just it's one of the, I think it's the biggest building project we've had in Sacramento County. Even exceeds the airport, but it's right up there with it. And so thank you. I'm looking forward to the day that we commission this in its entirety, and I hope, Vic, that you'll be there. Thank you.
Yes, and on time and within budget, I think separates regional sanitation from many of the boards in the region. It's pretty impressive, your leadership, so thank you, Vic, for the update and for everything you've done.
I have a question.
Okay, I'm sorry, is that Director Harris?
Jeff? Yes, Jeff. This has really been an adventure to watch this get built, and it's been a real pleasure working with the entire management team. I do have a question. Have there been any active COVID infections amongst the workers on any of the projects?
I can answer.
Go ahead, Nestor.
Yes. On the construction side, we are seeing some upticks in the number of, the different permutations of exposure, whether they're positive of a worker or, their spouse or someone else in their crew. So we've kind of seen the different variations. So I think we've had about, from the contractor side, I only can recall maybe 4 cases. And what we see is the contractors are approaching this very similar to what our guidelines are. One small crew on a project, had a crew of 4. One person, his wife was tested positive. The whole crew went home, and they all had to get tested. And they were tested, and within a week they got results, and they were negative, so they came back. So we are seeing some, but so far it really hasn't delayed the contract work.
Well, that's great news to hear, and I appreciate it. Anyway, great work on this project. Thank you all.
Thanks.
Madam Chair, this is Oscar.
It's Director Villegas also had.
Oh, yes, Director Villegas, please.
Yeah, I just wanted to chime in. Just thank you, Vic. Please be sure to thank your entire crew. These regular updates were in part of the vision. As you know, this is the largest, I believe, the largest capital project in the Sacramento region, and so for that reason, we were obviously cautiously optimistic, but a little bit nervous. We wanted to make sure that we were going to be held, to a high standard and accountable to the public and using our public dollars. And so you've delivered, as you said, as has been said before already, on time and on budget. So please be sure to thank the entire team for the great work. Thank you.
I will do that. Thank you.
Anyone else that would like to comment? Thank you. Thank you, Vic, for your leadership, and for to the entire team, congratulations from all of us on great progress.
Great. Thank you very much.
Stay there, Vic.
You might as well stay because
For the next item.
Our next item, please.
Item number 11, acting as your Sacramento Regional County Sanitation District Separate Matters. Approve and present resolution honoring Vic A. Caetani on the occasion of his retirement as Deputy Director for the Sacramento Regional County Sanitation District.
Good morning, Chair, members of the board. I'll have a few comments, and then I'll open it up so that the other members of the board that may have comments, then we're going to ask Vic if he's got comments. So that's why I asked him to stay back at the podium.
The hot seat.
I've known Vic for about 25 years. When I came to the district back in '96, shortly after I was hired, about 2 or 3 months later, the guy that hired me left the district, so I ended up working for Vic. He was my early mentor, one of my mentors, and so I have a personal feelings about Vic's tenure. Obviously, he has been with the district a lot longer than I have been. I can say there are, in my career, there are a few people, there are a handful that you can recognize and say they have had lasting impacts on the district in a positive way. And Vic is one of them, and I know a few more. So I want to thank him both for from me as a person, for what he has done for me in terms of as a mentorship. He's a very genuine individual. Is very down to earth. Whatever you see him, he's the same way back in the office, and he treats his staff well. Rarely have I seen Vic get angry or, I could see a small excitement, but you would not notice it. The normal, if you didn't know him, you would not notice that he's actually.
He hasn't seen me much the last 5 years. Yeah.
But over a long period of time, you get to recognize those things and say, okay, no, Vic he's unhappy with something, so we need to really hear what he is. Above all, he's a genuine human being. I've always appreciated his counsel. Again, there are a few people in the district that I have relied on in my career, and he's one of them. And he's managed the Echo Water project, as you have seen, very well. And he leaves very big shoes to fill. And I'll mention, who's taking over his role in a moment here in my time later. And Vic, I appreciate your service in the district. Truly benefited from your time. And we wish you well in your retirement. And hopefully you'll play some role with the continued role with the BNR or the project in the future, because obviously we still have about a year plus time left for this project, and actually almost 3 years for the entire project. But at least the BNR, we got about a little over a year left. So with that, I'm going to have other board members say, and then you can say your comments.
Great. I'll begin with Supervisor Natoli. Did you want to speak?
Well, very briefly, thank you, Madam Chair, and I know others want to weigh in. I'll just say that, when I certainly see Vic here before us this morning, and I was kind of chuckling to myself that in his prior presentation, he talked about this timeline, but he didn't mention that, his retirement was, imminent here. But I would just, in all seriousness, say that, public service comes in lots of different forms and different ways. And, those who go in their professional pursuits to, they complete their educational aspects of their preparation and then go into the real world. And I think when it comes to some of the utility services and things that we often take for granted, water and sewer and infrastructure, people just a lot of times assume that they're there and they're, that they're going to function and they're taken care of, but it requires a lot of leadership and guidance and certainly oversight on a daily basis, if not, even more frequently when you have a plant that runs 24/7. And so we, heard some accolades. You'll hear some more today, but I just want to thank you for your public service, Vic. Obviously, as Prabhakar said, not only the people of the district, but this community and region have benefited by your daily work, and oftentimes, it may be tough to kind of get the perspective that it really contributes that much, but it does. And I want to wish you, the best of everything, and certainly in retirement. And I know that I'm sure that your family and those that you're close to are going to appreciate seeing more of you on that side of it, because I'm sure this is taking its toll relative to the hours you've committed to the project over the last several years. But you have a long, outstanding career, and you can be proud of your public service. And I just want to say thank you on behalf of the grateful community.
Thanks. Thank you.
Thank you, Supervisor Natoli. And for the directors that are on the phone, if you could please state your last name and then just pause for a moment, and I'll try and acknowledge people in the order that they requested to speak.
Garvey.
I didn't hear that.
Director Lee.
Please state your name loudly and clearly.
Director Lee. Villegas.
I heard Director Villegas, Director Bruins. I think I heard the two names.
McGarvey.
Director Lee.
I think that was a mistake. I can't hear. I'm struggling to hear. So let's start with was it Director Villegas first?
Yes, Director Villegas.
And then Director Bruins, and then we'll keep moving forward.
Just very quickly, Vic, congratulations. I think what Prabhakar said is a true testament of who you are as a human being. He didn't even talk about the work you do. He talked about who you are as a person, and I think for most of us, when we get to that point to retire, I think most of us are going to want to be remembered for who we were, not necessarily what we did. And so I think that Prabhakar's reflection of who you are as a person is very poignant and very telling about who you were. So thank you very much for your service, and thank you for your commitment to our community.
Good.
Very nice. Thank you. And Director Bruins?
Yes. Thank you, Vic, for everything that you have done for the district and for our constituents and ratepayers. I hate seeing you go. I do hate this part of it because we form relationships with people over time, even though they're strictly professional. Yet at the same time, I just wish you all the best. You certainly deserve to move on to the next phase in life. You've given 31 years of your life to your work here, and your legacy will carry on for generations. And so God bless you, and be well. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Bruins. Go ahead.
Good, thank you.
Director McGarvey.
Yes, I just want to follow up on what the others said and then pass on a little bit. I know I've been on the board now for a couple of years after our council member passed on. At any rate, he always passed on at the city council meetings what he learned at the meetings here, and Vic, you were always there. So I just wanted to say thank you for everything you've done, and the little bit that I've learned, and a little bit I've been here actually, because a lot of people have been there a lot longer. But you've done so much for the district, but for everyone who lives in this whole area. So thank you for everything you've done. And like Don Natoli said, real life. Is there real?
I didn't get that.
We didn't hear the last question.
No, no question. I was just saying that Don said that there was a real life after this in retirement.
Oh.
I think so.
I hope so.
I'll let you know.
Thank you. I like that.
Thank you.
Thank you, Director McGarvey. Any others
Madam
who?
Chair,
Yes,
Director Lee.
Director Lee. Thank you.
Madam Chair, if we were to block this resolution, can we keep Vic from retiring? Kidding aside, Vic, congratulations for this monumental accomplishment. I've always appreciated your presentations, and you will be missed. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Director Lee. Anyone else? Well, I would just like to say, Vic, that we appreciate your commitment over time. Many of us came much later than you did. I think probably the highest compliment a person can receive is when he has the respect of his peers and he is known for being genuine. And so that says a lot about you, and maybe perhaps a good reason why you have done such an amazing job in managing projects and keeping things on time and in budget and so on and so forth. And so probably one of the biggest things that we think of, I think, as board members is, how do we maintain continuity and institutional knowledge, the importance of the knowledge that you have over 31 years. When you leave, it's gone. And so everything that, it was in your relationships, your working relationships, that you helped ensure that this organization will continue is in the manner that it has gone, and we truly appreciate your leadership and your commitment to the Regional Sanitation District, and wish you Godspeed and blessings in your retirement. And I hope you have a lot of fun. You won't have to worry as much about COVID and all these deadlines. Hopefully you'll be vacationing, and just know that we will miss you and wish you well in your coming years of retirement, if that's what you're going to do. You seem pretty young, so.
Thank you very much. Older than you might think. Yeah. So, yeah, just a few words. It's been a great career at Regional San, and 31 here, but I also have 7 years prior to that, working in the private industry. So I worked, plenty of years. The organization has some really good people, and as well as the private world, we hired some really good people that came to the program. Many are still on the program. And so you talked about continuity and the knowledge. There is still a really good base of people there with knowledge. Regional SAN staff, a couple of them that I brought on to start the program, they're still there, or senior engineers. So they're really good people. And so I think you can kind of rest assured that things are be in good hands. A lot of the processes and things we have are in place. But from my perspective, this, I appreciate, I guess, the trust that the board has, given me to help me do my work. And, we try to put be as transparent as we can, put the information out there, but, having the board and what they understand and the way I approach things has really helped me on my end to make this project go much smoother. Things are just going so fast. They're still going fast, but we're getting close to the end. But I want to thank everyone, Prabhakar, for the kind words, and really want to thank the PMO staff that we've had. They're a great team, and couldn't do without them, and as well as the rest of the organization. I was kind of thinking back about all the different sections within our organizations that touch this project, and I couldn't think of one that didn't. I mean, from our IT people to our lab people, our purchasing, contracting people, everyone, not just our operations and engineers type people. So it's, kudos to the whole organization for getting this done. So.
Thank you.
So I just want to call on Ruben. I mean, I would be remiss if I didn't call him, see if he wanted to say a few words. Ruben?
Yes, thank you, Prabhakar. I want to build on the comments that the group has made. I've worked with Vic for over 20 years, and he has been an amazing engineer, amazing resource to the organization. But as Director Villegas said, Vic and Prabhakar said, Vic is just a good guy, a wonderful person, and at the end of our careers, want to be remembered for the kind of people that we are. I also really appreciated Vic's honesty with me. When he disagreed with me or when I made a mistake, he was the first one to let me know, and I appreciate that. So Vic's a great guy. I'm going to miss him, but I'm sure we'll see him around. So Vic, congratulations. I sincerely appreciate what you've done for us, and I sincerely appreciate working with you as a peer. Thank you.
Thanks, Ruben.
With that, I have a couple of things that I'm going to walk over with my mask on to give to Vic. So resolution, as well as we have a clock that's a retirement. It's with an inscription that for thanking for his service. There's also we've created these paperweights with the recycled water in the middle for the Echo Water project because he's worked on that. So that's one of those things. So these three things I'm just going to walk over and hand it to Vic with my mask on, of course.
Thank you.
What I would ask you is, I'm going to step back. If you could pick that up, and I'm going to take a picture of you. You can take your mask off, or if you want to keep them, that's fine too. Because we can post that picture from a distance. It's as best as we can do, given the conditions.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll do one with the vertical. Good. Thank you, Vic. Appreciate it. Okay. We maintained social distance and we had the masks on. Whatever.
Did you want to take one with the mask? He wanted one with the mask.
Sure. Just to reflect the timing.
Yes.
Yeah.
Got it. Very good. Thank you.
Congratulations on a career well executed, a life well spent, and best wishes for you in the future, Vic.
Thank
I know
you
we have you for another month, but.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Vic.
Okay. At this time, we are moving on to item 12.
Acting as your Sacramento Regional County Sanitation District and Sacramento Area Sewer District separate matters. Item number 12, status update for Community Septic to Sewer Evaluation Program.
And Christopher Dobson, good morning. How are you?
Good morning.
Could we have the presentation, please?
For item 12?
For item 12.
There it is. Good morning, Chair and board members. My name is Christoph Dobson. I'm the Director of Policy and Planning for Regional SAN and SASD, and I'm going to give you an update on our Septic to Sewer program. All right, before getting into the program, I want to give a little bit of background on where the money comes from. Your board back in 2017 actually put out some policies that dictate how non-rate, non-fee revenue is used. And non-rate, non-fee revenue is, for example, when we sell biogas or the interest that we earn on our reserves. So that money, those policies dictate how we would spend that money. And the idea was to fund projects that were consistent with our mission, vision, and values. We had 5 categories of funding, and then I'm going to highlight the environmental stewardship because that's where the septic to sewer program fits into. We put that all together, and non-rate, non-fee revenue is kind of clunky, so we called it the Confluence Regional Partnership Program, or just Confluence. So Confluence funding helps residents, businesses, and nonprofits abandon septic systems and get them connected to the public sewer. And we have a couple different ways to do that. One is that an individual property owner can come in and apply for a grant. And then also staff has been working on developing larger scale projects where there are some communities that are good candidates for getting connected to the public sewer. So the strategy for funding these projects, that is the big issue for the septic conversion. They're very expensive. A single project can be in the tens of thousands of dollars for a single parcel. I've even seen projects over $100,000. So it's just very expensive, and a lot of people can't afford that. So we're looking for funding to kind of cobble the projects together. We have first the outside funding. That's where we go first. We identified through the State Water Board the Clean Water State Revolving Fund Small Communities Wastewater Grant Program, CWSRF for short, and that has been the lion's share of the funding that we've been getting for the projects. And then we're also looking for other, mostly in the state, but other grant funding as well. Then we drop down and we're able to leverage some of our Confluence money to help fund the project. And then finally, if there's a shortfall after that, then we would go, of course, to the property owners to get them to fill in that gap. And hopefully that is something that's then affordable for.
I just want to update you. We're in a break, and we don't have Mr. Gutierrez yet.
If we could ask the directors to please mute your phone if you're not talking.
So the property owners pick up the difference there. And then even in the case of the property owners, are also a couple of loan programs for Regional SAN and SASD, so they can actually borrow that money and pay it back over time. A little bit on the grant funding from the state. The funds are allocated annually. They're for small and disadvantaged communities. There are 4 packages that we have to submit to have a complete package to the state: general, technical, financial, and environmental. There is less money available than there are requests for money, so the state has to do some prioritization. And of course, they're trying to stretch their funding as much as they can, so they're looking for lower cost per connection, and they're also looking for projects that have the greatest benefit to groundwater quality. And of the projects that we have identified 5, and I'll show you those in a minute, but the 2 best candidates, according to the state, are Linda Manor and Old Florentown. So they're just kind of the ones that we're focusing on. It doesn't mean we won't be working on the others, just those are the ones that are kind of furthest ahead. So here's a map showing them. We have Linda Manor is up in Rio Linda in the north at the top of the page. Old Florentown and then Orange Park Cove are kind of in the middle there in the Florin area. And then down in the south, Franklin and Hood. And I'll go into a little detail on each of the projects. So Linda Manor is the one that is furthest along. We have the environmental package, actually, that is on a item in today's board agenda for SASD to certify the environmental document, and then we'll be able to upload the environmental package. And the other packages have already been submitted, so that will be a complete package to go forward to the state. The process within the state is a little bit of an unknown, a little bit of a black box for us, but we're hopeful that by the end of this year, early next year, we can start design on that project. Old Florentown, we're in the process of reviewing the technical, financial, and environmental packages, and we hope to have a full, complete package by September. And Now Franklin is just kind of to the west of the edge of Elk Grove. We decided to separate that out. We've looked at both combining Hood and Franklin and separating them out, and we finally ended up with separating them out to allow Franklin to be more competitive because it's so close to the city of Elk Grove. That makes the costs come down. That is not a irreversible decision. At some point when we have all the packages in, we'll have to decide that, but at this point we've separated it out. In Franklin, we're going to be doing an MHI, median household income survey, this summer, and that's important because the funding for the projects is based on whether you are a disadvantaged or severely disadvantaged community, and you have 100% grant funding for the severely disadvantaged. So we go through the process in MHI to see where the communities fall. And then environmental and technical packages are underway, and hopefully this winter is when we're targeting getting that package complete. Hood is the challenge, one of the challenges because of the cost. It's just that it's farther away. You know, the project itself is similar to the other projects, it's just farther to get to the sewer system. So that one we're working really hard to try to find some other grant opportunities. The state grant is one that I've talked about before, but we're also looking at a groundwater grant program. If we do find that there is groundwater contamination, there's actually a fairly good source of funding there, but we don't know if that's the case.
Excuse me, Christoph, Director Natoli had a question.
Yeah, just one comment. I'll have some questions and comments when you get done with your presentation, but we did the median household income survey in Hood already and have identified that as qualifying, at least in that respect. Have we not? I didn't see that in the material, either in the written or in staff report. So we've already gone through that effort in Hood?
That's correct, yes.
Okay.
And that's the basis for, at the end, they'll show you the estimate of the grant funding that we could get from the state, and it's based on those results. Yeah.
Okay, thanks, Christoph. Thanks.
And then the other one that we're looking at, Delta Conservancy has some, I think it's Prop 86 funding. They have a program called Community Economic Enhancement Grant Program, which is a little different because we're not typically thinking of economic enhancement when we're doing septic to sewer, but we're trying to see if we can fit it in there. And then lastly, Orange Park Cove, it's kind of an interesting one. The biggest challenge for getting grant funding for this project is that it doesn't appear to be impacting groundwater, so that makes it lower on the state's priority list. However, if we were able to get funding from the state, it is a very affordable project, so it fits well into that category. There aren't any other potential grants identified, so it's kind of lower on our list, but we would still try to get the grant funding through the state for that one. And then this is a summary. It's maybe a little bit small. It's in your board packet as well, of each of the communities. On the left, you have the community name and then the number of parcels, so you can see residential and commercial parcels that would be included. That's important because the state grant funding only covers residential, so they won't pay for commercial, and that's where some of the other funding has to come in to help out and make it affordable. You have the estimated total project cost, how much we expect we could get from the grant funding if we were to be successful. And then the next column is the potential Confluence grant funding, and that is just an estimate based on roughly how much we provide to individuals, just multiplied by the number of parcels. So it's just an estimate. That number can change. Obviously, your board could direct us to use something in that area if we chose. And then the next column over are economic development bank credits. That helps with the sewer impact fees. And the County of Sacramento has verbally committed to providing some of the economic development bank credits that they still have available. So we could use those to help the project along. And then the last column is the estimated shortfall. And that's what's left over and what we still need to find out how to fund. That would be typically the property owners, but also it could be other grants or any other source of funding. And I just want to kind of end it on a high note. We did complete the Freeport project and got that community hooked up. The residential customers did not have to come out of pocket for that project, and the business owners in the community were also able to get connected for fairly nominal and affordable amounts. So that community is hooked up. Last May, I believe, is when we completed that project, not 2020, but 2019. And so it was a very successful project. And just this year, actually last month, American Society of Civil Engineers Sacramento section awarded the project the Land Development Project of the Year. So we're excited to have received that award. And I just want to give some kudos out because a lot of people worked on this project. In Rosemary's Department of Operations, Linda Peters was the project manager and led that design and construction. And then Peter Castles and from our Public Affairs Office did a lot of work on the outreach to the community. And my department, Bob Seafried and Trent are the folks that are doing all the work on the grants and getting the financial part of this put together. So a lot of work for a lot of folks, very successful. And with that, I will answer any questions.
And I know that it seems like it would be easy to sign people up for these types of things, but I remember when you first started working on this in Rio Linda, we ran into challenges I didn't even anticipate, language disparity and getting enough people to understand the huge benefit this is to them. And so congratulations on your progress with all of this. Supervisor Natoli, do you have any questions or are you punched in?
Well, yeah, a question, a couple of comments if I could, Madam Chair, and I know you've got others on the phone. So I just wanted to, again, add kudos to yours, to staff, again, the Freeport project, which was on our agenda earlier today, and finalized that project. That was about 20 years, stop and start, working with district and working with county staff, and a number of compounding factors there. But it's in and it's functioning, and again, thank you for your leadership and work on that. And I would just say that the 5 communities you've identified here, I'm very supportive of pressing forward with all of them for certainly the reasons that have been stated. But if you look at the geographical spread, certainly I think the socioeconomic factors, and that's why you do the median household income, but you also look at pockets of areas that have, for a variety of reasons, were not incorporated into sewer system extensions, back in, the time when, post-World War II, when you were beginning to do that in some of your suburban urbanizing areas, and there were other areas that were more rural and or bigger lotting patterns, and so they didn't hook into sewer. Obviously, there were costs associated with that, but septic systems have and continue for the most part functioning in those areas. And I think that the costs, as you outlined, and I think the aggressive pursuit of other funding sources serves this district well, but serves those citizens and property owners and residents and business owners well. And again, I'm glad to see Linda Manners on later on in the agenda, supportive of that. I know the good work in Old Florentown, and certainly the leadership of Supervisor Kennedy and Supervisor Cerna in that respect. And it's been talked about for a number of years. And with Franklin and Hood in particular, again, we've explored different options there. And I know Hood is the greatest distance, but it's also the only Delta community, once we complete a Freeport Delta town in Sacramento County, that doesn't, with the exception of the town of Ryde, that doesn't have sanitary sewer hookup. And we've been able to, through a variety of approaches over the years, obviously district with Freeport, but certainly Walnut Grove and Cortland were brought into the district a number of years ago. They had their own sewer districts, and then the City of Alton. And the town of Locke, we've worked to bring sewer to that community a number of years ago. And so I think it really is important as we look at the cost, but also the not just economic benefits, but the fact that you have moderate income communities, and the inability in a lot of cases when you have these lotting pattern that makes it very difficult to have replacement fields for septic and really expressed interest. Certainly we had that in the hood, and I know we're out to work in Franklin. We've had community meetings. And so I guess I would just strongly encourage not only your effort, I think of one other potential source, community development block grant money. And I don't know if there's anything through the CARES program or if there are future stimulus packages come through with infrastructure. I know, talking to Prabhakar, there's some opportunity potential there, but we need to be poised to capture those dollars, recognizing that if we do it, we did build customers forever, but we also then, I think, provide the economic backbone, both property that's residential in use, but also for commercial properties that have to buy into this as well. So I'm encouraged by where we are today. Congratulations on the award for Freeport. That's a recent announcement. And, again, I'd like to see us continue to aggressively pursue not only those funding sources, but to find a way as a district to, bring sewer to all 5 of these communities in Orange Cove as well. And it has some lotting patterns in Supervisor Kennedy's district. But again, I think this is a valuable program, and these are some one-time opportunities. You have community interest expressed in all these areas, and I would just hate to see us lose the opportunity because of a shortfall, and it might be significant, it might be $1 million or $2 million, but we have some wherewithal in this district, and I would, hate to see us lose those opportunities and the enthusiasm. I think the energy that's gone into getting us this far, but also to accomplish those projects and actually help the water quality, but I think also provide a strong economic basis for both residential and commercial property use, now and in the future. So. Again, I would hope we could be back to this board at some juncture later in the fall with some, continued update on particularly those communities that aren't at the top of the list today, but certainly we continue to work on. Thanks.
Thank you.
You jogged my memory. One other source that we put in for is just the federal stimulus funds. SACOG put together a list of projects, and we did include our projects on that.
Oh, very good. Okay.
Great.
Yeah.
Do we have any other directors did you want to say something?
I was going to say that we will continue to advance all the planning work for all of these in the hope that we will find additional monies besides what the state has indicated they would provide. The other forms of state monies, the other grants, the federal grants. In the end, the board can make the decision to say, well, we are this close. Could we want to put chip in a little bit more money? The way that comes about is a non-rate, non-fee revenue. This year we have, I think, about $10 million that we got. Interest rates were still better earlier in the year, so we were able to get that. Next year we won't be that lucky with the way interest rates are now. So what we might consider doing is to take this year's success and put in the reserve for the future decision of the board, where the board may say, well, we want to fund these projects, or at the time the decision is that we don't want to fund the projects, we can always return that money back from the reserves to the general side of the ledger, so at least we can capture that monies for the future board decisions. So we would bring every project when it gets to the state that it receives approval of state's monies. We'll come back to the board and say, okay, here's where the shortfall is. Would you go ahead and authorize spending that money? And so the board can make the decision. But we want to preserve that ability so that we can continue to hold on to the monies in the reserve.
Good.
Great. So you'll do it at the time it's approved?
Yeah. I mean, there's no approval required here at this point. This is an update, but we're going to bring back an action later this year to the board is to move the monies to the reserve so that we have additional monies.
That's great. Thank you. Do we have any other questions from callers, board directors on the phone? Not whatsoever. Thank you, Christoph, and congratulations on the award, and we appreciate it. I know there was a lot of evening time and a lot of time put into all these projects.
I believe there are 2 people that wanted to speak on this issue.
Oh, yes. I'm sorry. Thank you. We do have 2 public speakers.
Speaker, hi callers, state your name for the record, silence the meeting in the background on all devices. You have 3 minutes, and please start making your comments.
Hi,
This is Dan Whaley. Thank you, directors and staff and sanitation board. I'm calling on behalf of the Whaley family, Angelica, Adonis, and Lexi. We've been 35-year residents of the Delta, both business and our personal home. We are calling in and requesting that the sanitation board in the county see if they can locate some additional funding for the gap that we have in providing sewer service to the two communities of Franklin and Hood. Both are in dire need of a sewer connection. The almost billion-dollar new facility is just a short 4 miles away from our communities. The town of Franklin has both residents and a large commercial, including the iconic King's Gate, where many of you have had birthday parties. There's 2 bars and restaurants. There's a large vet hospital. There's an auto repair shop. And there's an elementary school, possibly the only elementary school in Sacramento County that's on a septic system. In the community of Hood, we have over 300 residents, and it's continuing to grow. There is an existing community park, and there is funding already available, only a couple $100,000, but some money for public bathrooms. We also have Firehouse 92 with a community meeting facility for social gatherings, as well as a thriving bar, a Delta Market, an antique shop, and a beautiful 24-slip trailer park. We also have the River Road Exchange, which holds the Willow Ballroom with a 600-person occupancy. To date, we have done over 100 weddings and have 60 weddings booked into the future. We also have a elite wine shipping, wine fulfillment company, and we are in a unique position with the Sacramento County administration to help save these Delta legacy communities. You've completed the sewer connection for Freeport, Cortland, Locke, and Walnut Grove. We need to now help the community of Hood. This will help tourism, business development, and will solve flood issues and water quality issues with many of the Hood residents still using redwood septic pits for their sewer uses. Anyway, thank you very much for your time and review of this matter. Thank you.
Thanks, Dan.
Thank you, Dan.
Hello. Hello, caller. State your name for the record. Silence the meeting in the background on all devices. You have 3 minutes, and please start making your comment. Hello, caller. Hello, caller. Hello, caller. I believe the person. Oh. Hello? Are you there? Please state your name for the record. Silence the meeting in the background on all devices. You have 3 minutes. Please start making your comments.
Doesn't look like we have.
A little bit of a
They either disconnected or got disconnected in some way, somehow, but
technical difficulties.
I don't see them on the line anymore.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, with that, we will move on. Thank you, Christoph, and for all of your efforts and for these underserved communities that can benefit by this money.
Yeah, but Chair, can I just ask one other question? Just to
sure.
Prabhakar weighed in after I had a chance to just. So, if I understand you correctly, funding from the environmental stewardship aspect of the Confluence program, it certainly is discretion of this board to fill in the gap if we chose to do that. So what I heard you say, and there was some money in reserve. Obviously, we're pressing forward with a couple of projects that were on the top of the list, but we have the ability as a board then to make that determination if we can't fill the gap any other way, but we have a meritorious project and one that, to your point about underserved communities, we have the latitude as a board, and is that something you as staff would evaluate if we've pretty much exhausted, recognizing some of this money is available point in time, and if you don't capture it, you might, and the state runs out of their funding, then you're out of luck, even if it's a revolving fund. And so I trust you would bring that to us then, at least for our consideration. Again, recognizing that, as a staff, you're doing the analysis, you're trying to make the money last and do all the other good things we're doing in the Confluence program. But I want to be clear about that, Prabhakar, because I think...
Yeah, that's what I was indicating when I suggested that we have some excess reserves this year, that we would move to that excess from the non-rate, non-fee revenue, that we've moved to those reserves, where every project, when we get confirmation from the state of what their contribution is, we know what the funding shortfall is. We'll come to the board and say, this is a shortfall, which may exceed a standard allocation under the Confluence program guidelines, but your board has prerogative to allocate higher than the guideline amount. That's where you'll make the decision on an individual project basis.
Okay.
But what the reserve does is just keeps it in the reserve so that until the decision is made, if we don't want to spend it, then obviously that money can go back to the normal.
Right, you can reallocate it. Because again, to the point I said a moment ago, but some of this is point in time opportunity that you have, and whether it's in Hood or anywhere else. And I just think that you might set aside this pot of money, but then other grants expire, or you find other opportunities through federal stimulus potential and so forth. So again, I just think it's kind of knowing when the time is right and when we need to jump in, or at least consider what might be a larger contribution if that's the case. But then run the risk if we don't of the whole thing falling to the wayside.
Yeah. So each project, as we get confirmation from the state as to what, for example, Linda Manor, we will know within the next few months.
Right.
What their contribution is, then we know what the shortfall is, and we'll come to the board and say, is the board willing to fund that project or not?
Okay.
So likewise, we'll go through each project.
All right.
As we get.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. And our second public commenter is on the line, so we'll move forward.
Hi, caller. State your name for the record. Silence the meeting in the background on all devices. You have 3 minutes. Please start making your comments. The call got dropped again. I don't know.
Call got dropped again.
Yes.
Must be a remote area.
I don't know. Yeah.
Okay. Thanks for trying, Alma. Okay, and at this time we'll move on to item 13.
Item number 13, acting as your Sacramento Regional County Sanitation District and Sacramento Area Sewer District separate matters, miscellaneous director, and district engineer matters.
Prabhakar.
Yes, I do have a few things. So there's a lot of staffing changes, at least the executive staff level, that are going to happen, or happening, and are going to happen over the next months. And as I mentioned to the board, that I'm planning to leave next year sometime, and it's coming to a lot more focus now. So in preparation, that we had a couple of individuals that were interested in my position, so they wanted to serve as this assistant district engineer role, so that they can get hang of the various departments within the organization. Initially, we had Rosemary Clark that served in that role for about 6 months. So Christoph is now serving in that role as an assistant district engineer role from April through October-ish timeframe. It's for him to gain broader understanding of the districts in preparation for competing for my position when it becomes open. So I just wanted to mention that he's in that role now.
Great.
Our next meeting will be on August 26th. We'll not have one on August 12th. We'll have the Staffing Services Subcommittee that we will meet the subcommittee on August 12th, probably an hour to hour and a half meeting, and we'll send the agenda out for that meeting. In terms of the other staffing changes, Vic is retiring at the end of this month. So we have, some of you remember Mike Crooks. He was the engineering manager, and he was moved over to manage the South County Ag Program. So what we have done is we have merged both the Echo Water program and the South County Ag Program. If you also remember that we renamed it to Harvest Water. So we have Echo Water and Harvest Water both under one umbrella that Mike Crooks is going to lead that. So when Vic leaves, Mike Crooks will assume that position, which means that we have taken one position and essentially kept it unfilled. So that's a good thing in terms of savings. Also, Ruben, if you remember, Ruben was supposed to leave by now, but he graciously extended his time. We have finished recruitment for his replacement. We've selected Glenn Dillefeld. He's a current O&M manager. And Ruben is planning to leave within the next few months. And we're going to bring his appointment, essentially his replacement's appointment in due course as we have a firm date from Ruben. It's going to be next few months. And I know Joe is planning to leave in the next few months as well, probably a few months. There's a lot of change, but I think we have a lot of folks that are rising up and coming along to take those spots. I just wanted to mention that to you. But those are my comments.
Thank you, Prabhakar. Do we have any questions from the board? Okay. Now, I have a question regarding our closed session item. It's for the entire board, so
That's
we'll
right at the
quickly
end,
move
yeah.
through SASD.
Yeah,
and
we'll just
then-
go ahead and finish the
okay.
SASD.
Okay, moving on to Sacramento Area Sewer District.
District consent matters, items 14 through 16.
Madam Chair, I have one comment on item 15, just a minor comment.
Okay.
So it doesn't need to be pulled. All I wanted to say is normally when we bring the item for your approval, we will have completed all the plans, the signed and everything. I think the set of plans we were working on this morning, there's one signature coming from the DOT as we speak. And also there's a few sheets that are being updated. By the end of the day, we will have all the plans complete. I just wanted to make that point.
Okay, thank you, Prabhakar. And so does the board have any questions or comments, or do we have a motion for this?
Yes, I do have a question. This is Susan Peters. I have a question.
Okay, and did we have a motion from
Hello?
Jeannie?
Hello?
Yes.
This is Susan Peters.
I believe there's a
I-
question from Director Peters.
Thank you.
Yes, I heard Director Peters, but I thought I heard a motion and I was acknowledging it. Okay, Director Peters?
Yes, on item 15, I'm not going to oppose or ask for a long explanation, but normally I talk to Sand District staff about something in my district, and I don't believe we've talked about this. So I would ask that someone from your staff call me in the next couple of days and walk me through this.
Yeah, we'll do that. We'll definitely do that.
And with that, I second the motion.
Yeah.
Okay, so we have a motion from Director Bruins, I believe, and a second from Director Peters, and a roll call vote, please.
Member Bruins? Director Bruins? Director Carr?
Did we have a motion from Director Bruins?
I thought I heard her.
I think Larry Carr made the motion.
Oh, I'm sorry. Sorry, Director Carr. Okay, thank you for clarifying.
Director Bruins? Director Carr?
Aye.
Director Frost?
Aye.
Howell? Kennedy?
Aye.
Natoli?
Aye.
Peters?
Aye.
Cerna?
Aye.
McGarvey?
Aye.
And Hume?
Aye.
And the motion passes.
Thank you. And so moving on to district separate matters, item 17.
In the interest of time, if you have any questions, Joe is here. This is a normal thing that we do every year, this time, in terms of placing this on the tax roll. As usual, a strange thing for this year is we actually have more people paying their dues before they ended up on the rolls than in the previous years, even though we had a COVID impacts. But nevertheless, this action needs to be taken by your board today to hold the hearing and then receive any comments. If not, then approve placing these delinquencies on the tax roll.
So item 17.
This is Director Hume. If there's nobody signed up to speak, I would move the item.
Yeah, so we need to open the hearing.
I'm going to ask the clerk to formally read the item into the record, and then we'll take the motion.
Acting as your Sacramento Area Sewer District separate matters, item number 17, collection of delinquent sewer service charges on the property tax roll.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor. Do we have a second?
Second.
Who was the second?
First,
Garvey.
let's open the hearing. So, sorry.
Okay, I'm sorry. Who was the second?
McGarvey.
McGarvey. And at this time, do we have any questions or comments from Board of Directors for Prabhakar? And so I'll open a public hearing, and I don't have any public comments. Do we have any?
The clerk's office has not received public comment for this item.
Okay, and so I'll close the public hearing, and we have a motion and a second on the floor, and so roll call vote, please.
Member Bruins? Carr?
Aye.
Frost?
Aye.
Howell? Kennedy?
Aye.
Natoli?
Aye.
Peters?
Aye.
Cerna?
Aye.
McGarvey?
Aye.
And Hume.
Aye.
And the motion carries with those members present.
Thank you, Alma.
I did have one comment about the caller who was dropped. Her comments were inclusive with her family's comment before, so I just wanted to let you know that the caller before, her comments were very similar to those comments.
Okay, thank you very much. For the prior item?
Right,
Yes.
for item number 12.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, and the Sacramento County Sanitation District's Financing Authority meeting was canceled, and so at this time, we are going to adjourn to closed session. For those that are here in the building, the closed session will be held in hearing room 1. If you are on the call and you are part of the board, please leave the call and dial back in to the closed session.
Yeah, we sent the closed session number in my communication to you, so please use that number.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. This meeting
Yeah, I
is...
have that new number for the call, so I'll call on that.
Yes, thank you very much.
Well, he wants to
Is
know.
there a number they can call
Right.
if they're having problems, Alma?
They can call the clerk of the board's main line number or email me at munozal@saccounty.net.
If you're having trouble getting into the closed session,
Please contact the clerk of the board's main line at 874-5451. And also, you can email me at munozal@saccounty.net.
this meeting is adjourned to closed session.